This is ABC 7 News at 6, live on the road in Castine, presented by Dorsey Furniture.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for ABC 7 News at 6, live on the road. We are here in beautiful, breezy Castine. It is a beautiful evening, and we're fortunate enough to be hosted tonight on the grounds of the Wilson Museum. Our thanks to them for having us here tonight. We'll be hearing more about what's going on here at the museum throughout the summer a bit later in our broadcast, but for now, we do have some local headlines to get you. Now, first tonight, the investigation continues into that bridge collapse in Old Town yesterday. Maine DOT saying they are actively collecting data and information from all involved in the aspects of design, fabrication, and construction of that bridge. They add that they're coordinating with the Maine Department of Environmental Protection to ensure there are no concerns regarding the structure's status, saying that no significant environmental issues have been identified thus far. Now, the DOT will also be conducting inspections of the bridge spans and the temporary detour bridge that currently carries traffic. Their statement reads in part, quote, Maine DOT personnel are on site and are engaged with the contractor and local officials to assess the incident, gather information, and conduct a thorough fact-finding review. And to determine next steps, the department will continue working with all partners involved to minimize impacts to the construction schedule and to those traveling through the area, end quote. Now, we did reach out to bridge contractor Reed & Reed for comment. We have yet to hear back at this time. We'll, of course, continue to bring you any updates on that story as they come to us. In other news, fire marshals say they are not able to determine what started a fire in Milo this morning. Maine Public Safety spokesperson Aaron Turcott saying the Milo Fire Department responded to a structure fire a little after 5 a.m. Turcott says when they arrived, they found a well-developed fire on the second floor of a single-family residence with flames extending into the roof area. He says the fire caused significant damage to that residence, and the two individuals who live there are displaced. They're being assisted by the American Red Cross. Turcott says fire marshals believe that the fire started in the second floor bathroom, but due to structural collapse within the residence, they're not able to determine the exact origin or cause of the fire. Meanwhile, 3 individuals were arrested in Brewer in connection with drug and firearm offenses. Authorities recovered illicit drugs and a firearm during a search warrant exercise on Center Street yesterday. Now, according to the Brewer Police Department, these arrests are in connection with an ongoing investigation into drug trafficking in Brewer. 19-year-old Ricardo Costa of Fall River, Massachusetts, was arrested. He faces charges of aggravated trafficking of scheduled drugs and possession of a firearm by a prohibited person. 33-year-old Chelsea Frazier and 41-year-old Dennis Fongelis, both of Brewer, were also arrested. They've been charged with unlawful possession of scheduled drugs. Fongelis also faces additional charges of violation of conditional release and an outstanding warrant as well. Police say the investigation into these interconnected trafficking incidents is ongoing. Well, the East Millinocket Fire Department is the first in our state to outfit their whole crew with new PFAS-free gear. Our Calvin White has the details there.
For years, firefighters have used protective equipment made with cancer-causing chemicals. But for the first time in Maine, a fire department has received new PFAS-free turnout gear. Commonly known as forever chemicals, PFAS are man-made substances used in water repellent or fire-resistant materials. They are a key material in firefighting gear and have been linked to various health issues such as cancers and immune system disorders. Selena Charette says firefighters already have to deal with the dangers of cancer-causing materials when they enter a burning building.
Firefighters now are exposed to so much chemicals and just materials that are being built.
Over the years, fully PFAS-free firefighting gear has been developed, but getting the new suits can run up a large bill.
One set of gear, just the coat and the pants, you're looking at about $4,000 each. Another $500 for boots, another $500 for a helmet, $150 for a pair of gloves, another $150 for a hood. It all adds up quickly.
For the East Millinocket Fire Department, finding that kind of money for their 25-strong crew is a tough task, especially in a small town that has had a constrained budget since the town paper mill closed. However, this summer, the department received a $90,000 grant from the Gloria C. McKenzie Foundation to fund the suits. They were already looking at new gear, but would have had to upgrade slowly, one suit at a time.
For a community of this size, that's a huge grant for us. We were able to outfit all of our department with the PFAS-free gear.
We are extremely grateful for having our new gear. We really appreciate the Mackenzie Foundation. This is going to protect us against cancer and be able to live a long, healthy life.
In East Millinocket, Calvin White, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Dedicated to biomedical science research and undergraduate student experience celebrated its 25th anniversary. Our Sam Miller has that story.
Scientists, students, and academic leaders gathered at the Maine MDI Bio Lab in Bar Harbor to showcase a quarter century of the Maine Idea Network of biomedical research excellence's progress in advanced discovery and economic development.
The program has evolved in a way that it's had a huge impact, not just for the state of Maine, but for the entire country, United States, and also all around the world.
The program, also known as Maine IMBRI, was established in 2001 with a handful of institutions. Now, 17 universities and research institutions spanning Maine are involved, such as the University of Maine, Farmington, Bates, and Colby College. Through IMBRI, over 3,000 undergraduates receive direct research and experience. Over 90% of them go on to pursue careers or further education, including MDI Biolab Research Assistant Samuel Cousins.
The end goal for any of us people here is to help others, right? To explore the world of biology and our health so we can ultimately use it to improve other people's lives.
Funded by grants to the National Institutes of Health, the Maine IMBRI has invested over $107 million into biomedical infrastructure. Dr. Nishad Jayasundra of Duke University has been with the program since the beginning and discussed how important programs like the Maine IMBRI are in helping mankind evolve.
The foundation of human progress is through science and innovation and technology, and having these kinds of programs that enables citizens around the country to really tap into that resources and learn and also become part of that innovation process is incredibly important. So I'm thankful for the programs like this.
In Bar Harbor, Sam Miller, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Maine's emerald ash borer quarantine has once again been expanded. The emerald ash borer is an invasive metallic green beetle from Asia that feeds on and kills all species of native North American ash trees. And in early July, it was detected in Jackman. Then in early August, a Hancock County professional arborist reported finding it in the town of Surrey. Both towns were outside of the regulated area. And as a result, areas in Franklin, Hancock, Penobscot, and Somerset counties have been added to the quarantine areas. You can only use local or heat-treated firewood in those areas to protect forests from any further spread or damage. Important to keep that in mind. Well, a Maine fishing guide is turning his passion for the water into a mission to restore it. Our Alex Schley reports.
What started as picking up a few abandoned tires after a day on the water has grown into a personal mission to help clean up Maine's rivers.
For years, I've seen all these tires all around the river, visually see them on the shoreline. It was jokes with clients and friends about look at all the tires. And then one day I just decided I'm going to pull some of these out.
That first haul quickly led to questions.
And people were like, why are you removing all the fish structure?
Brandon says, concerned they were right, he started digging into the history of why tires were in the river.
They're mostly all 1950s to the 80s, I'll say. And it happened because scientists and media back in the day, back then, that was our first time in society where cars were mainstream. Everybody had replaced their tires. There was millions, billions of tires on the land. We didn't know what to do with them. And some scientists thought it would be a great idea to bundle them and make artificial fish structure.
Decades later, Beekridge is taking them out one by one. Just this week, he pulled out his 600th tire. And for Brandon, it wasn't just about removing trash. Brandon says the difference today is hard to miss.
When I see just how beautiful they are now, how far they've come, how clean they are, and really, like I said, the bulk of the trash is the tires.
And even after 600, Brandon says he's not done because what started as a few has turned into a mission to leave Maine's waterways a little cleaner than he found them. In Waterville, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Alrighty, folks, well, let's hit pause now and turn our eyes to a first check of our forecast.
Thank you very much. Your first weather today is brought to you by Quality Automotive and Brewer. Experience a quality automotive difference, reliable service, and expert care that you can depend on. Call us to schedule your next appointment at 922-2043. All right, those highs for today, slightly cooler than yesterday, mid-70s here in Bangor at 76 degrees for us, but we did get an 80 down into the southwestern portion of the state, Sanford at 80 degrees for you, while a bit cooler further up north for today. Lots of us in the low to mid-70s, but Greenville being the cool kids in town, hanging out in the upper 60s for your highs today. So pretty clear skies for tonight. That's going to bring some 40s and 50s back into the area. Our low right around 50 degrees here in Bangor, but plenty of sunshine to start off the weekend tomorrow for your Saturday. Yes, maybe a few clouds out there near the Bangor area, but plenty of sunshine still in store for us all across the state. That's going to help us reach back in your average into those low 80s. So here we are for today. A bit of a breezy wind out there from the northwest, right? Well, it's going to lighten up tonight into tomorrow. It's going to stay pretty light, still from the northwest, maybe gusting your 15 miles per hour. Won't be as strong as those winds we saw there for today. So overnight tonight, the winds are dying down. The skies are clearing. We're looking at lows back tonight near the low 50s.
Folks, after the break, we're going to have more on what's going on this summer here at the Wilson Museum in Castine. Stay with us.
On the Road, broadcasting the news at 6, is brought to you by Hometown Health Services. Visit their new, exciting community health center in Palmyra for appointments, also in Dexter and Newport. Recharge Bangor, a whole-body recharging studio and wellness center, offering science-backed therapies dedicated to your total health and wellness. Top-notch detailing in Herman. Give me a call today to schedule your appointment at 232-2933.
Come one, come all! Penobscot County's oldest furniture store is having a spectacular liquidation event. That's right, the Big Top is back. It's loaded with quality furniture and mattresses, and the discounts have been taken. You'll save at least 50% off list on mattresses, recliners, sofas, and more. If you're looking for a great piece of furniture to make your oasis complete, right now is a perfect time to check out the Big Top in Holden. Dorsey Furniture, Route 1A Holden, open 7 days a week until 5 p.m.
Disturbing news about threats of violence against women. Is it Graham Plattner again? No, it's Troy Jackson. When a female legislator disagreed with Jackson, he threw a water bottle at her in anger. The woman was deeply frightened. Jackson was known for bullying, and his screaming felt like intentional intimidation. His brash conduct with women raised alarm bells about his temperament. Troy Jackson, another phony we can't trust. Pine Tree Results PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Millions of dollars in lies are flooding Maine from out-of-state groups attacking Susan Collins. Independent fact-checkers called this attack on Susan's Medicaid record false. Susan's been named a Medicaid champion, and calling Susan corrupt, also proven false. Mainers know and trust Susan. She's America's most bipartisan senator, and the only way to beat their lies is for us to tell the truth.
I'm Susan Collins, and I've approved this message. Join my team and give today.
He put his life on the line for his country. Senator Susan Collins isn't forgetting him or any of our veterans. She's delivered millions in federal funding to improve housing for veterans across Maine and provide housing vouchers to make sure Maine veterans have a place to call home. She's also worked tirelessly to provide the quality mental health care our veterans deserve. Call and tell Senator Collins to keep fighting for our veterans.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Welcome back in. I'm joined by Julia Gray, who is the executive director here at the Wilson Museum in Castine. What a beautiful place. Oh my goodness, I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you here and here at the Wilson Museum, where we welcome our visitors on a journey from curiosity to connection. We have history, archaeology, anthropology, science, a lot of hands-on learning opportunities, and I think you're going to have a chance to learn a little bit more later in the broadcast.
So specifically, we see a blacksmith village. We see all different kinds of buildings on the grounds here. I think folks would be surprised at how expansive your facility is. So, what could folks expect if they came here for a visit?
Sure. So our museum galleries have an incredible range of exhibits around, going back hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years in geology and fossils and so on, as well as a lot of local history and cultures from around the world. And then our immersive learning, our hands-on learning, includes blacksmith shop, wood shop, tours of our historic house, a lot of a lot of things something for almost everybody here.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks are really into the hands-on immersive learning experience. You really get brought into it. Are there special events going on here at the Wilson Museum this summer that folks should be aware of and come down to take part in?
We're especially excited about our annual artisan market, which is coming up next Saturday, the 22nd of August, from 10 to 4 p.m. This free event that we have every year will feature a dozen talented artisans who create in a variety of traditional craft forms, wood carving, pottery, fiber arts, soap making, really wonderful range of folks. And we'll have Papa Smokehouse here serving barbecue, so that'll be a tasty food option.
That's a draw.
Yeah, and we love to have kids come to anything we do, and the artisan market includes that. There'll be hands-on crafts and activities for young visitors to make and take home with them.
Plant those seeds of learning and curiosity early.
Yeah, kids are great for that.
All right, well, folks, like I said, if Castine isn't on your summer destination list, it certainly should be, along with the Wilson Museum. Julia, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Beth.
All right, folks, we'll be right back.
On the Road, broadcasting the news at 6, live from Castine, is brought to you by Dorsey Furniture. Big savings under the tent through August 24th, where every item is at least 50% off.
Coastal Auto Parts, your local Napa Auto Parts dealer with 30 locations. Owned and operated by a Maine family that cares.
The Breeze and Castine Variety, downtown Castine, Maine. Seafood restaurant, gift shop, and bake shop. The best lobster rolls in Maine, $26.95, with more lobster than most.
You don't get to buy the government that you want.
But let's look at what Troy Jackson did. Because Troy Jackson likes to keep it in the family. When Jackson was state Senate president, his son was one of the highest paid lobbyists in town. Special interests paid his son, and Jackson changed his positions. Was it a coincidence, or was something corrupt? Troy Jackson is just another dirty politician. SLF PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
If you believe in a campaign that's honest...
Honest? Troy Jackson was accused of mortgage fraud for falsifying documents to get a low-interest loan. Jackson billed taxpayers for massive travel expenses, even though his house was only a few miles from the state capitol. Who approved his taxpayer-funded expenses? He did. And Jackson was known for bullying women. Troy Jackson, falsifying documents, ripping off taxpayers, and a bully we can't trust. Pine Tree Results PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I was a teacher in Aroostook County for 40-plus years, and I loved it.
But federal law prevented retired Maine teachers, law enforcement, and firefighters from receiving the full Social Security benefits they earned. Susan Collins fought for them and passed the Social Security Fairness Act.
My retirement almost tripled. What she did benefited over 25,000 Maine retirees. Thank you, Susan.
I'm Susan Collins, and I've approved this message.
Half-off deals are waiting for you at foxbangor.com. Click on half-off deals and see how much you can save only at foxbangor.com.
Welcome back in, everyone. Husson University has just announced their Sports Hall of Fame for their class of 2026. This year's class features 7 players across multiple sports and one team. Among the names, Frank Kern, a standout defensive lineman from 2017 to 2021. Carrie Ann Downing, who shined on the track and field team from 2013 to 2017. Jen Jones, one of the greatest softball pitchers in the program's storied history from 2017 to 2022. Lance Libby, a 2-time All-New England honoree on the golf team from 2023 to 2007. Victoria McIntyre, a 1,000-point scorer on the women's basketball team from 2012 to 2016. Then Tyler Muzzy, another 1,000-point scorer for the Husson in their men's basketball program, and the current coach of the Foxcroft Academy girls team. And Alex Young, one of the best offensive linemen in program history and an All-American. The 2017-18 men's golf team was also inducted, a team that went on to win the North Atlantic Conference Championship, the Maine State Championship, and the New England Intercollegiate Golf Association Championship. Congratulations to all of this year's inductees on their Hall of Fame careers. Last night, the New England Patriots played in their first preseason game of the 2026 season, one that saw plenty of ups and downs. Last night's bout with the Colts ended in a 13-13 tie, but plenty of good came
out of the game for the Pats. Tommy DeVito got the start at QB for the Patriots in his one half of action. He threw for 138 yards, threw a beauty of a touchdown pass to wide receiver Kyle Williams, you see on your screen, to give the Pats a 10-0 lead in the second quarter. Additionally, New England's defense was able to force 3 first-half turnovers of the Colts and 4 total for the game. The Pats had a chance to win the game with a 49-yard field goal from Andy Borregales, but was missed. He missed it wide left. Mike Vrabel says he's proud of the defensive performance overall, but sees lots of room for improvement.
They better have. I think they better have, or there have been a lot more points that they scored. So, again, the turnovers are great, and I love us attacking the football and taking advantage of that. Just a lot of things to clean up. But, again, when you talk about, the ability to create turnovers, it can change the game, and, try to defend every blade of grass down there on the goal line.
Borregales is 2 of 5 last night. That certainly is not going to get it done. For now, that's all the time we have for sports. Here's your full 5-day forecast.
Thank you very much. As you can see, conditions a bit better out there for today. Lots of sunshine. We're seeing mid-70s here in Bangor. Same for Millinocket. A few of us in the low to mid-70s further north, but the cool kids in town are Greenville for today, while we did see a few of us right at 80 in the southwestern portion of the state. So for tonight, some drier and cooler air is moving in with the clear skies and lighter winds. You're going to see our lows just near 54 tonight here in Bangor. As you move off to the west and to the north, a few of you can be in the 40s for tonight. Into tomorrow, though, that high pressure still sticking in place, so plenty of sunshine in store for us. Some of us may go for 80 tomorrow, otherwise upper 70s here in the Bangor area, while you can see some cooler temperatures still off to the north and the west, hanging out in those low to mid 70s still. So average highs this time of year right around 80. Well, slightly below that for your weekend, pretty darn close to average. Now our cool day is going to be Monday. A lot of cloud cover in the area, especially early on, holding those highs near 70 degrees, but no issues warming up after that. May even get a bit above average for your Wednesday, low to mid 80s. Thursday and the Friday right around 80 degrees then. So winds today from the northwest now. We're getting that after the passage of that cold front yesterday. So winds are gusting near 20, maybe 25 miles per hour, especially down to the southwestern portion of the state. The winds will lighten up tonight, and we'll see a light breeze tomorrow, maybe gusting near 15 miles per hour at most. So again, clear skies tonight. That's what's allowing us to cool off nicely with those 40s and 50s across the state. And that high pressure continues to dominate into tomorrow. Plenty of sunshine, maybe a few clouds out there, but no rain whatsoever. We're going to stay nice and dry with those highs right back near average. Now Sunday, we won't see any rain throughout the day, but there is going to be some cloud cover working its way in, so expect those mostly cloudy skies. Still should warm up nicely with those upper 70s out there, but then once we get throughout your Sunday night into your Monday, that's when we have some better chances for some rainfall, maybe even a few thunderstorms heading into your Monday afternoon. So for tonight, we're in the clear. We got clear skies out there, light winds, and lows near 50 degrees. Some of us could be falling into the 40s out there for tonight. Into tomorrow, though, no issues warming back up. We'll be right back near average with highs in the upper 70s and low 80s. Plenty of sunshine and a light wind from the northwest right around 5 to 10 miles per hour. So taking a look at your extended forecast, we will get some cloud cover here for your Sunday, but that does look to stay a little bit light early on in the day, so we should have no problem warming up into those upper 70s. Now Monday, we will see cloud cover throughout the whole day, so highs only near 70. We will have a south wind that's a little breezy, helping us warm up and giving us that chance for showers and thunderstorms. Otherwise, drying out and clearing out Tuesday into Wednesday. We'll see those temperatures trying to reach back above average for Wednesday afternoon into the low to mid 80s.
And folks, we will be right back with more from Castine.
I'm a fifth-generation logger from Allagash. I grew up a poor kid in a town full of poor people, doing everything right and still struggling to get ahead. And it's worse now. People in this country work so damn hard and still feel so damn broke. That's no way to live. Susan Collins keeps telling us that everything's fine, but we know it's not. We all have eyes, paychecks, and bills. We know we're getting screwed. You deserve better. I'm Troy Jackson. I'm running for Senate, and I approve this message.
Not once, not twice, but 6 times. That's how many times Paul LePage vetoed Medicaid, cutting vital funding for rural hospitals. LePage called Social Security and Medicare welfare pure and simple. LePage even gave $900 million in tax breaks to the wealthy, then increased property taxes on us. A better choice? Matt Dunlap. He'll fight to protect Social Security, expand health care, and lower prescription drug prices.
I'm Matt Dunlap, and I approve this message.
I went to work in the woods after high school. The harder we worked, the more that the companies took from us. That's why we organized. We made them listen. People are doing everything they can right and still cannot get ahead. Susan Collins keeps telling us everything is just fine. Who has she served? She has served Donald Trump. She has served the billionaires. She has served herself. We are getting screwed, and I'm running to change that.
Government that Works PAC's responsible for the content of this ad.
In the ICU, I've seen patients being bankrupted by the cost of care, and they're having to travel 3 and 4 hours to receive that care. This didn't just happen. Susan Collins voted to support Donald Trump on the largest Medicaid cut in history. Healthcare is getting even more expensive. People are losing coverage. Labor and delivery centers are closing. Hospitals are closing. We need to tell Susan Collins to stop siding with Donald Trump. We can't afford it.
Make this the summer event at Thornton Brothers in Lincoln. Looking for a truck built to go the distance? Drive home a new Ram truck backed by an available 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Ready for adventure? Check out our selection of new Jeep Gladiators and Wranglers, built for wherever the road or trail takes you. Need room for the whole family? We've got a great selection of new Chrysler Pacifica vans, packed with comfort, versatility, and style. This summer, make the drive, we'll make the deal. Visit Thornton Brothers in Lincoln today.
Welcome back in, folks. There are birdies and eagles in golf, but how about a moose? There are most definitely is if you're playing in the state of Maine, and specifically at the Bucksport Golf Club. The staff is calling this female moose Doris. They say she showed up about 2 weeks ago and was simply decided she's staying.
So she's just been hanging out with us, going and drinking and laying down and kind of just staring at us while we stare at her.
The unusual sight has attracted a lot of other people who stopped to watch Doris. They say the golfers even stopped traffic with their carts to make sure she can cross the road safely. Folks at the golf course say since they've posted about Doris on Facebook, they've received over 60,000 views. We certainly can understand why. Maybe she'll caddy for somebody. You just never know. Well, Castine's Wilson Museum preserves human history that goes beyond this small coastal town. Our Doug Banks recently got a tour of this museum and has the inside story.
The goal of the Wilson Museum in Castine is to exhibit centuries of human creativity.
The museum was founded in 1921 by John Howard Wilson, who was a summer resident of Castine, fascinated with archaeology and anthropology and geology, and had built up a collection.
I think it's a draw to a small town that maybe doesn't have a museum or have something this spectacular.
Thousands of pieces fill the museum, including European stone tools made
hundreds of thousands of years ago,
a model of the Defense,
which was one of the American vessels in the Penobscot expedition,
and even a glow-in-the-dark rock collection.
It's very low-tech and really cool little piece of science.
Beyond the glass exhibits is the John and Phoebe Perkins House, a pre-Revolutionary War home the museum took stewardship of in the 1970s.
It's that human connection and travel across time.
During July and August, they offer multi-generational learning opportunities called Hands-On History.
Perennial favorite is our wood shop. We have a blacksmith shop. The museum, you can see all kinds of cool things, but they're static. So this gives visitors a chance to see the creation process.
I really like how it gets across all of the experiences and how it does things hands-on.
Museum officials hope the people who stop by 107 Perkins Street leave with a new piece of understanding of somebody other than themselves.
That idea that you can make some connection with someone whose life is different from yours and continue to expand that way of seeing our world as all of the people and all of their differences and how exciting that is.
In Castine, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
And that is going to do it for us, folks. Thank you for joining us for this special edition of ABC 7 News at 6, live on the road from Castine. It is just so beautiful here. We're so grateful to have spent at least part of our Friday evening here. We hope you are too. Take care and have a great rest of your night.
Tonight, more rounds of rain threatening already flooded communities, the catastrophic weather in the Midwest, and Luigi Mangioni's day in federal court, the surprise hearing, and what happens next. World News Tonight with David Muir is the #1 newscast in America.
These are the small space solutions America's waited 250 years for. They pack a style punch in even the smallest of spaces, because nothing's more American than going big on small.
Oh my Bob!
Bob's Discount Furniture.
30 years living that Washington, D.C. lifestyle. That'll change a person. Getting rich from insider stock trading should be illegal. But Susan Collins doesn't think so. Susan Collins wants to keep it so senators can play the stock market, make millions of dollars doing it. Why we struggle to pay for gas, groceries, health insurance, the basics. For them to get all that money, why we're paying more, it's not right. It's not right. Tell Susan Collins to stop this congressional stock trade.
This is Fox 22 News Tonight.
Thank you for joining us on this Thursday evening for Fox 22 News Tonight. I'm Doug Banks. First on the broadcast, the investigation continues today into the bridge collapse in Old Town that happened yesterday. The Maine DOT said today that they are actively collecting data and information from all involved in the aspects of design, fabrication, and construction of that bridge. They add that they're coordinating with the Maine Department of Environmental Protection to ensure there are no concerns regarding the structure's status, saying that no significant environmental issues have been identified. The DOT will also be conducting inspections of the bridge spans and the temporary detour bridge that currently carries traffic. Their statement reads in part, quote, Maine DOT personnel are on the site and are engaged with the contractor and local officials to assess the incident, gather information, conduct a thorough fact-finding review, and to determine next steps.